attending this meeting, stay where you are. You must be stationary and stay in the same position at all times. Work sessions are a meeting of the Board of Directors to get together to discuss topics for the upcoming board meeting. We will not be taking any questions or any comments. Anyone who interrupts or disrupts the meeting will be asked to leave. If necessary, I will close the meeting and we will finish with an empty room. All of us will be here after the meeting to answer any questions that you might have. Thank you. Ken? Oh, first of all, any additions to the agenda? No? Okay. I'm going to add a part-time position for the business office. Give you guys a handout on that in a few minutes. All right, General Manager.
Okay, on the business office, we've resubmitted the easement dedication application. That should be the last hurdle that we have to get over to the final permit. Once we do that, we are entitled to collect $48,000 in bonds that we posted. The dredging consultation, the only thing I got to say there, we are in the process of soliciting bids, and I've had 2 bidders say that they were interested. Fire station proper, you all know, and I've told you before, we got the $195,000. And we have an engineer that I met with and also met with Stafford County. And we are going to have to do a site plan, which the engineer estimates that'll be $15,000 and the surveying will be $2,700. And Stafford County said we have to develop an infrastructure plan, and the fee for that permit is $5,000. And we will do some, expenses for the road other than just putting down the asphalt. The second entrance off of Washington Drive into the town center, the developer did send me an email a couple days ago, and they have now purchased the property from Ramco Gershon, so it's definitely owned now, and there shouldn't be any turning back. The grocery store chain, he said it would probably be 60 days before they announce that. And they're still agreed to pay for the second gate and change anything that would affect the traffic on Washington Drive. Paving, I provided you all with a copy of proposed paving this year, and unfortunately, just so you know, most of our roads now we have to mill before we pave, so that certainly makes it more expensive. But just so you know, the main streets that we're talking about paving is John Paul Jones, Richmond Drive, the front entrance, and when it started at 2100 block of Aquia Drive, we're going to go 2,600 feet down that road, and then the rest of them are a bunch of cul-de-sacs. Unfortunately, most of these cul-de-sacs have not been paved since the 1970s, so some of them are in really bad shape. They even have to dig a lot of those up and put down base coating. Inventory of assets, roads and grounds has completed their inventory, and we now have labels on all the equipment. We did list everything that costs $500 or more, and I had spoken with our auditor and insurance agent, and they both felt that $500 was a reasonable threshold for controlling the assets. We do have a schedule. I have a scheduled meeting on Monday, meeting with BOD in Stafford County to discuss the possibility and feasibility of converting the emergency gate into a second gate. As you know, BOD has put in writing to us that we cannot use the emergency gate because of heavy traffic. I do know the permit from the county would be $5,000, and talking with BOD, they say their fees are much cheaper. Erosion control, Sean Desmond and I have met with Mr. Hubble of Stafford County Erosion concerning 5 locations within the harbor that we thought we could do something to slow down the infiltration of matter into the creek, and hopefully within the next 2 or 3 weeks we'll be putting in some check dams in various places, and where we do have some check dams already that is silted up, we're going to clean out behind those as well. July 4th, I really got a scare yesterday. The guy that was going to provide the barge said he wasn't sure he was gonna be able to make it. So I bought an airplane ticket to go to Europe.
For sucking.
But anyway, we did find another company, and thank goodness we saved $500, and so we are gonna have a barge, and it's even gonna be a little bit larger than the one we had last year. Just for the board's consideration, I did get a call today from a company that would like to come in the harbor and perform free ultrasound testing of the lower legs for residents of the harbor. And they do it absolutely for free, and they will give you the results. And if you've got blocked veins and those types of things, then of course you would have to go to your regular doctor and decide what you want to do about it. The last thing on my list is road pipe inventory. I think the good news is we thought there were over 300 pipes, but in fact there's 209 pipes in the harbor, and these are pipes that go under the road and comes out to the ditch on the other side. We listed the size of those, we listed the condition, and then we just made an estimate of when we would replace those. The bad news is it's very difficult to be able to see up into the center of the pipe. We did look at the ends, and a lot of these pipes are at least 30 years old. And I'm sure they're rusted out. As long as you don't touch them and you don't have a flood, they probably last several more years. So anyhow, this is the news that you asked for, and
Thank you very much.
that's it for me.
Okay, Ken, as far as the paving, when are we going to see the bids?
We're going to try to get the bids out in a week. You know, we know several companies that's certainly vitally interested now, so we should have those out within a week.
Okay. As far as replacing the guest services gown, where do we stand with Jade? When are you going to hire her replacement?
I'm sorry, I couldn't understand.
Jade at the front?
Yeah.
When are you going to hire her replacement?
Kelly would like to start interviewing soon. You know, she's going to stay as long as we'd like her to stay, and she'll be part-time. So, but that interviewing or advertising and interviewing should start soon.
Is she part-time or full-time?
She is presently a full-time employee.
How did the Boy Scout project work out? Did they finish?
No, they did not. You know, we went out, we bought the materials, we delivered it to the site, and they showed up and they had rented an altar. And I guess that's red clay and tree roots. And supposedly the guy either knocked his shoulder out of place or broke his shoulder. I mean, it was so difficult. So they are going to rent another kind of auger that supposedly will cut through rock, and they're going to start back on it on Friday.
Okay, all right. I guess the last thing I have for you is, when is that building back there going to start?
I talked to the guy several times. He did have an engineer consultant talk to him, and we've had to dig holes all the way around the building to determine how deep the footers were. And then he came back and he said, how wide are the footers? And then he wanted to know how deep the floor was. So I have provided him with that information, and assuming that the engineer says it's all right, it should happen soon, because it's one of their standard buildings. You just specify the height. And I have talked to Stafford County, and they've assured me we could set that building right back on the same slab of the building is today.
Great, okay, thank you. Okay, first item on the agenda is decal and visitor gate enforcement. And who's handling this? Is anybody on the board?
We'll put it on the agenda.
It's been on the agenda for a while, that's why I'm asking. The only note I have on this is that we were going to develop like a day pass. Did we do anything about that? A card that we would give visitors when they come in with a date on it, that they would have to come in and out? Did we do anything with that?
You know, we've talked about that, but I don't think we've ever come down and said we're going to do it. You know, historically, we did blue passes for the marina, we did green passes for the golf course. I don't know, I guess you could give a green out for the restaurant. But certainly, if that's what you would like me to do, we can do that. We did it for years. I don't know why I stopped. So, if that's your preference, I'd be glad to do it.
What do you guys think of that?
Well, it's an interim measure. I think the capture system and what you guys have presented in the past is the ideal solution.
Absolutely, I agree, 1,000%.
But even if we go to that, whether we go to the camera system or the alarm system, still for visitors, we should have something to.
They do issue visitor passes that way.
Oh, they do?
And they issue them for up to 1 year.
And they're all white, you know, I mean, but the key down there, they catch all of the people that have not been called in, or if you've got an expired pass, they catch them, so they do such a good job there, once they get to the gate, there's not a lot of worry, because they know they ought to be there, or they pay their dues.
I think the capture system with the gate and the camera and all that's gonna solve 80% of any of the issues we've ever talked about
I
here.
go 95.
99.
As long as we're talking about that, where do we stand on that? Have we gotten any proposals, anything on that?
I have not gotten a proposal back on the cost or what it would take to put in the capture system.
So Nate and the police department presented that to us however many months ago, right? So it's basically the same system that they presented, and they were working with an engineer at that time as well. So we talked to them at all?
We have not, but that was a different system.
That's
It
not
was not
the-
captured. And this is, and I'm telling you, it's impressive. I know the chief's been there and several of the board members have been there. And it's just unbelievable. Just so you know, we take in 300 or 400 phone calls a day at that gate. People calling in, Sally to come in, the Drashmore to come in. And if you come through that gate and you see them up there and they're doing this, they're looking through that spiral notebook trying to find those. On the capture system, all that disappears immediately. They don't have to take those calls. You put it in through the computer, and it's all that guy's doing is issuing passes and make sure that you've been called in. So it's phenomenal, in my opinion.
Okay, so you're working on getting us some
Absolutely.
information on that?
But why can't we start with some card things?
Yeah, as an interim measure?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And always as a backup and that
That's
kind
what you want. I'd be glad to have that done.
Okay, I don't think that's anything we need to vote
of, no.
on. No.
That's within his purview,
Yeah.
and the chief's purview for security of the harbor.
And I will go the color claims like green for golf course, blue for the whatever else we can bring up that would tell the police where they ought to be.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, we just got the board minutes tonight, so I don't think anybody's read them or has any corrections to them. As far as I know, there's no additions. Does anybody know if there's any additions to the action tracker?
Oh, yeah, he's a front view on there.
It's not on this one, but it's on the other list.
Sounds,
Okay.
the board's action tracker, are you referring to? Or the-
Yeah, that's the date on that. Electronic data, so it's, okay.
Yes, it is item
Yeah,
61.
it's on, okay. Okay, so we said erosion, Sean Desmond is taking care of that. Alright. So exercise room in the harbor in basement,
Oh, we haven't, we're basically waiting until all the renovations are done upstairs.
Okay.
And it's, you know, I think we should have a discussion on what possible uses there are for the harbor inn, not limiting it to anything in particular, including not limiting it to banquets. I think we should, you know, find, since the building is there, find the best uses that we can for it.
So the history of it is it used to be a restaurant, right? Or
Yeah.
and then you know, my daughter recalled the early days, the speakeasy downstairs, right? Bar, tent.
Mr. Langren is all about that.
And
The
had
speakeasy.
stairs in the middle, you know, and we've now removed the stairs, covered up the floor.
We covered, the stairs are still there.
They had interior stairs
Right.
around the building, and now the only way to get in is that exterior stairwell. And that will be your hardest thing to conquer, is to make it fit the disability people. You either need an elevator or you gotta have steps at a certain angle. But we're just using it for storage. I think we have stopped the leak when we fixed the swimming pool. I don't believe we've noticed any real water in the basement. That still smells mildewy, or what you want to call it, but I believe we have stopped the leaks.
But for the downstairs, I mean, there really isn't any, there really isn't any use, right? Because we'll never make that ADA compliant.
I do not think you would be able to do it without spending a lot of money, to either knock the end out and put in the proper stairwell or put in an elevator.
At that seminar, that legal seminar last night, I believe they said that if it was not open to the public, in other words, if the harbor inn were for use only by our residents, that it would not have to be ADA compliant.
They did discuss something like that. I'd have to look back to the notes, but I thought.
I think they
maybe
said-
Because they were talking, when they started talking about swimming pools last night, they said, well, and I specifically asked them at the break, I said, okay, the way I took what you said was, if only residents in the gated community use the facility, then you don't have to provide the accommodation. But if you open it up and let the public use it, then you have to provide the accommodation.
Does that count residents and guests?
It's residents.
Just residents.
So they could have guests?
I heard that if it was private, and you needed a special handicap facility or this, you had to pay for it yourself.
Right.
The association didn't have to pay for it.
The
It's
homeowner.
a private building.
The homeowner.
The homeowner had, that's exactly what he
needs to-
said.
Right.
The homeowner had to pay for it if they wanted to, if they had special needs.
I will check that out with the attorney if you like, and give you a straight.
Yeah, let's make sure we do that.
Yeah.
Barb, if you don't mind, I'd like you to put together a price on converting that to an exercise room.
Really? Wow.
Or mixed-
Is it my
mixed use down
birthday's
there?
not
I
till
said,
next week.
let's see. I said,
Mixed use down there, I mean,
Yeah.
you used to have, do you still,
no, he's moved over here.
you moved out of there, so.
Yeah, he got kicked out.
So I mean, just ripping up the carpet in there, spraying down the walls, quilting the walls, sealing the walls, and I think in a couple of weeks, I think all your moist and you put some absorbents down in there, I think that smell would go away. And then you can really look at what you have, apples to apples with that.
The biggest thing is, are you going to have one entrance from the outside, or are you going to be able to access from the upstairs inside? That would mean elevator or stairs, and that means that if there's something going on upstairs, a wedding, a party, you sure couldn't go in through that to access it from the inside of that building,
Oh, in my mind, you would only access from the
from the
outside.
outside.
You can't get,
You're gonna have to have two entrances, or an entrance that, you just can't have one for car.
oh, is that fire code?
Yeah.
Be a question for the fire marshal.
Yeah, but I'm serious, if you want to put together,
Or if a spiral staircase would be counted as adequate ingress either.
because
Or a
you
pole.
said, Ken, you said the staircase is now is blocked off, right?
The staircase was removed.
Oh, it's gone.
We had a hole in the floor and the stairs, and when you get it, it's got the first landing down there, but the stairs are gone.
Stairs are gone, okay. It's still Barb, if you want to follow through there. All right, playgrounds, Bob, Bob?
That's me, I've been looking at playgrounds for the past 4 months now, and I think everybody knows, we don't have any playground equipment down at Lions Park except a swing. And the only thing we got at Briar Patch is what looks like rock climbing, 2 little doodads there, look like rock climbing stuff. I got with the people that sold us the playground equipment that we do have here in the harbor. And the only book that we had was the 2013 Game Time Design for Playground Systems. And the prices have gone up considerably since we bought the last one. The last one we had was at Aquia, and we paid $18,900, $18,924, I think it was, for that at Aquia. That's up to $24,000 now, that same type system. I've gone through the book and selected 3 different playground systems that I think would be appropriate for Briar Patch and or Lions Park, and got them to give us a quote. Because we're on their list, they're going to give us a 24% discount over what the normal price would be. Kelly thinks that since they're going to do that, and you're very limited to what you can put in here in the way of playgrounds, that we could do sole source rather than go out and get bids. And I know Barb's a little is opposed to that, but I mean, I'll go back after the war and get online and see what we can do in the way of playground equipment, but I doubt if anybody's gonna give us a 24% discount. Because these things are like modules, you can add to them. So I've got them here in the book, I'm gonna pass it around for you to take a look at the ones where the yellow tabs are. See which ones you think I wrote where I think it would be appropriate, the one for Briar Patch, and I may be wrong. This one here is for 2 to 5 year olds, and the other ones are for 5 to 12 year olds. So, I mean, we could flip and flop or put 5 to 12 year olds at both or whatever. But
Have you, by any chance, had any conversation with the recreation parks?
I got
and
with,
whatnot?
not with Recreation Parks, I got with Wes to find out what type of bed we were gonna need to put underneath of these things, and he's got that down pat, knows exactly what has to be done. And these quotes do not, this is us installing the stuff ourselves, so he said he's fine with doing that. But I haven't gotten with Parks and Recreation.
Yeah, RPW.
RPW has not had a quorum in the last 2 meetings,
Yeah,
so we haven't
so-
done that meeting per se.
But this is something that we need to do to finish up these parks and
Right.
Would
I went
you-
over to Maryland not too long ago to a couple areas that were outside of Clinton and all that. And they have a massive public park complex with a lot of that equipment. They've got the rubberized matting all in there. I mean, it's solid. They've got a water park over on the side, and kids are having fun. So.
I thought I read something that there was something wrong with that rubberized stuff.
I've read that too, yeah.
Just the chemical.
Yeah, it has chemicals in it.
They
that's
even got a
cancer
couple
producing.
here that shows you a whole park in Fairfax County in this book if you want to go look at it. But they can get up in the hundreds of thousands
Oh,
of
yeah,
dollars.
easy. Very
Not
good.
that our children are not worth that, so we just have
There's
to
some nice
plan
ones in there that are up in the
save
40,000.
money
I try to
somewhere
stay
else
under
and
25.
put it in the
One I
parks.
selected is 18,700, I think, and the other one was 24,000. They're expensive.
They are
But
very
there's some in
expensive.
here in that book that are $90-some thousand, so.
Anywhere else you go to these parks around the county here,
You
you
can't
see
just go to-
absolutely beautiful.
You can't go buy the one like we have at Heckinger's
Right.
and put it out there. I mean, they're made of wood and
Yeah.
they splinter and got the sewed down.
I know that the school systems, when they build new schools, especially the elementary and middle schools, they do, they might have some contacts of people who will come out here as well as, because, you know, I want to have more than one bid.
Mhm. Oh, yeah.
I'll go online and look up playgrounds and see who else is out there that can compare with that. But the neat thing about this, like I said, is you can add on to these or add on, you know, and they're willing to give us a 24% discount, so, but I'll see, I'll check it out.
Now, Don, would you be willing to take on and take a look at all the parks?
Sure.
And
I've looked at all of them, but I didn't write it down.
can you
Yes,
write
but-
something up? for-
Sure.
Because I know that we on the RPW, we did an inspection of every park last year, which we'll give you, and then you can get an idea. Maybe we can come up with an actual plan to do more than just a piece of equipment here and a piece of equipment.
In fact, I think we have photos of all the parks that we might still have access to.
I don't know we have photos, but I know that we inspected every one of the parks as part of what the committee did. But we'll get you that, and if you wouldn't mind going around to that, that'd be great. All right, CBO checklist, Bob, this is you.
Yeah, I went around with CDO in a couple of days, and I looked at his checklist, and, you know, I got with him and Catherine, and revamped it so it's more user-friendly now. Before it was listed by lot number, and he would get on the street where he had to look at specific properties because somebody called in about an issue on the property. And he would be at this end of the street, then he'd drive down to this end of the street, then he'd drive down to, the same street back and forth, because it wasn't a sequence. And all I really did was I had to sort it by section, and then also by block and by house number, so we could do it in the sequence. Because we was wasting a lot of time backtracking. That's basically what I did.
Are you talking about this thing here?
Yeah. And with his checklist, but that we also took some advice from some of the residents in here and added in some additional things for him to check. So,
We've never approved that check.
we have not.
No, that's what we're talking about.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll be submitting that in at the next meeting for,
So John is in line with this, and he's read all this, and he thinks it falls under his inspection.
well, most of his boss, the general manager, he's fine with it.
Okay.
And the other suggestion I made is instead of John having to drive around and write stuff down, we ought to get him a little paper clip so they can just drive by a house and say, hey, you know, that it's been resolved, or it's still an issue. That'll speed up the process and also be a lot safer. We just put a little voice activated one on the dash.
Yeah, the other thing you could do is if we do hire this part-time person, she could drive around with him and take the notes while he drives.
Yeah.
Or you.
Sorry.
Yeah,
Didn't even think about that.
The thing about it is, when I was writing, I held the clipboard and I was taking notes, and it's time consuming. It'd be much quicker if you just spoke and then transcribed and you got back. So,
I'll tell you, one thing, I talked with John, and he was getting direct guidance and direction from too many people. People in the LCC committee were trying to tell him what to do, and I told him that the only person he should take direction from is Mr. Langer. And because that's how the process starts. Somebody writes a letter to Mr. Langer, says my neighbor's siding's falling off. Mr. Langer sends him out to look at it. It's either yes or no, that is in fact a problem, and that starts the process.
Do we have that process written down? So
It's
even
in
more, it's in there, but is it?
It's in our codes and, you know, it's in our.
Because there's been a lot of discussion about it, there's been a lot of misunderstanding, so if we pull it out of there and make it a policy that's
We
more
can
easy
just,
to.
we can just reproduce that page. I mean, it's in black and white
Yeah, you
in the
could-
bylaw.
yeah, you
It's what
could-
he's supposed to do.
You could summarize it, Chris is right, you could summarize it, because we're not doing it right.
I'm saying if it's black and white, why weren't we doing
Yeah,
it?
Yeah,
I
we're not-
can,
we're not
I
doing
can
it.
write it up.
I mean, you have people on the LCC telling John.
Well, they're not anymore.
Oh, you took
No,
care of
they're
that?
not anymore.
Okay, I'll take your word for it. But I mean, that's a, you know, you got the person who's
I
making
told him not to
decisions.
pay attention to anybody on the LCC
Right.
and not from any of the directors either.
Okay.
That should apply to the GM as well.
Pardon me?
That no
The
single
GM
director.
The
can go
GM
to
is the only one that can tell.
No, I'm
you.
saying that no single director or a group of directors should be able to go to the GM and ask him what to do, or tell him what to do,
Oh,
or
absolutely.
things. Well, apparently it hasn't been totally been taken into effect.
I'd like to speak to that if I may.
Yes, sir.
You know, I think all of y'all from time to time have asked me to do something. And I think if it don't take a bunch of manpower, or it's not illegal, I try to accommodate each one of you. I understand my contract specifically says that Joe Collins, or the president of the board, is my boss. And if there's anything that I feel that's not, I'll go to him and say, hey, this has been requested, that's what I'm gonna do. But I had nobody say, Kim Wanger, go do that. If you don't, I'm gonna get you. But I do try to accommodate all of you. But if I can do it, it makes sense. So,
But you're right, you know. If the board hasn't discussed it, you really shouldn't be doing it unless it's a minor issue.
So just clarification on a couple of things in here, Bob. Ditches free of debris, I think we need to define some type of an amount, because leaves will be in there that we, you know, what's debris, what amount, anything, maybe you could reword that to say anything that would cause an obstruction.
well, that's the main thing, is we don't want them to block the.
Exactly, so
pipes.
if we say that in there, then it won't be, you
Yeah.
have 2 leaves in your ditch, I'm writing out.
Okay.
Well, this is, like, when you talk about tall grass and tall weeds, you define a height. Can you do the same thing there and say more than 6 inches, more than a 6-inch tall pile of?
Unless less than that would cause an obstruction.
Yeah, the thing is, you see some of these pipes in these yards, you know, here's the pipe and here's the yard.
Right.
Just
No,
the,
you're right.
the pipes there. So it's on a case-by-case basis.
I've gone down on mine and
Yeah.
gotten the shovel and pulled everything out before too. There's a lot of discussion a while back about vehicles and boats and trailers and jet skis and these things, not parked, either parked in the driveway but not on the grass. But we didn't include that as the backyard, so people would pull them behind their house as long as it can be seen from the road, and that was okay. Are we changing that, or are we sticking with that? Or is that a no-go?
No, the rule of thumb is if it's in the backyard, generally, it's okay.
Just want that not specified.
That's how
But how's
I've
he
thought since I've been.
Out of
here.
sight.
How's he gonna see it though, if it's in the backyard?
I'm just saying, general precaution, people walk to my next door neighbor and look into my backyard, so.
Some backyards, if they park it all the way out in the back, you're gonna be able to see it. If it's close to the house, you're not.
So we
But
just specify that.
I can remember
Okay,
no
so-
cars were ever parked in the front yard here.
Correct.
And
And
we
it should
used
be.
to enforce that.
Right.
Mr. Harmon will tell you so. He said, Mike, we've not enforced that for maybe 5 or 6 years. But I used to always write up cars in the front yard. So somewhere along the path, he was told not to. Must have been by a board member. But he used to always write cars up in the front yard.
Car
he doesn't-
and boats? And boats?
Anything that's in the front
Okay,
yard.
because I
yes,
know,
sir.
you know, I had a friend across the street that went through a big to-do with his boat in the front yard and had to spend a lot of money to build a pad and this, that, and the other. So as long as we're applying these things consistently, as long as they're properly defined and properly communicated so everybody knows what's going on and what the expectations are, then,
But we're probably real, if they come in here and got the correct permit to build that pad, that's adjacent to the street, it's touching the street, they built over, I wouldn't really consider that the front
no,
yard.
no, that's, the proper pad is fine, I mean, a
Right,
pad up front is
absolutely.
fine. But anything beyond the front plane of the house, I think, is appropriate, the front plane. Yeah, behind the house, behind the front plane.
Behind the front plane.
Yeah, but this, are you talking about this one, vehicles, boats, trailers?
Yes.
Is that the one? Okay, that specifically says parking pad. I mean, it says,
Not
are
parked in the
parked
driveway
in the driveway or
parking.
parking pad.
Right.
But if you park it, well, Chris is saying, you could, if you park it in your backyard on the grass,
Right.
according to this, you'd be in violation.
But the parking pad is okay, driveway is okay.
Does that make?
No,
I
this
just-
is, this right here is saying the vehicles, boats, trailers, RVs, jet skis, camper, not,
Not.
yes, hello. I'm thinking of, it says cannot be.
Okay.
Come on, baby.
So, did that make sense?
Yeah.
So what would you add there, in the front yard, does that fix it?
Sure, yeah.
Okay. Any others?
Cannot be parked in the front yard. Yeah, I think that's fully appropriate. Boats on trailer, do you have to go and get a special permit? Because I know a lot of people who move their boats from the marina to the side of their house or wherever, put them on blocks. Because my boat didn't have a trailer when I bought it. So how does, do you get special permission for that? How does that work?
Well, that's a good question, how does that work? I mean, well, don't we have boats here that people have up on blocks in their driveway? Is it, and that's all of a sudden?
During the winter time, I've seen it.
illegal?
In,
My understanding is that it's not in violation.
in the driveway, but not in the front yard.
All right.
This says boats not on a trailer.
It says boats not on the trailer, so that can't work because we already allow that. We have to take that out.
Yeah. We have to, because in the county,
Okay, so let's
So
move
let's
the
that.
county has nothing about boats. Yeah.
So we're gonna take that one off.
Yeah, take that one out.
So you will allow boats on a,
We allow boats to be stored, when people take their boats out of the marina or whatever,
yeah.
they dry store for the winter. We allow them to do that in their driveway.
Oh, I understand, but shouldn't there be some type of wording in here that if the boat is stored more than 3 years or 5 years and not used, it's not really a recreational vehicle then, is it? I mean, what does this become? Yard
It's a
art?
labor of love.
No, I mean, that's a good point. Should we put something in there about temporarily? I mean, how many years are you gonna let somebody store a
I would
boat
think if you
in
miss
the
the
Not
boat
boat,
and not put it
I
away?
thought they
either
gotta
2
figure
or
out
3
when that's so
seasons,
fun or not there.
chances are you're not gonna use it.
How are you gonna police that?
Unless the CBO makes a notation in his notes all the time, I've driven by such and such place, boat is there.
CBO takes good notes. and
How did we make the other boat disappear? It was on blocks.
It'd
It
be
was
just
on
like a
parking
vehicle,
bay.
you have to go through Virginia
Gotta be
Department of
consistent.
Game and Fisheries Commission to get a decal, and I just got through doing that for my boat. If it's got an expired registration on the side of it,
So you wanna go with the same thing we do for
same
cars,
thing we
then
do
you have
with
to keep it
cars.
currently
Yeah,
registered?
if they, just like that boat we just had that guy move. That inspection thing was dead back from 2006.
You could say current register.
10 years.
Yeah, he hadn't had that boat in the water for at least 10 years.
Okay, and I'm not a boat owner, so I don't know where these tags go. Are they on the
They're
back
on the
side,
side,
right
on the-
side, left side,
If
front?
everyone's
Both
the
sides.
front, both
Okay.
sides.
Both
So-
sides, front.
CBO would not be walking on someone's property.
No, you can see it from the roof.
Unless it's Coast Guard registration, then you wouldn't see it.
You always, you have to throw that one in there,
All right, so what's the consensus? What are you talking about doing? Boats have to be currently registered?
currently registered.
Currently registered.
Currently registered.
If we're sitting there with an expired registration on them, then
So boats not currently registered, does that sound right? Boats without current
Well-
registration?
I guess to be
Wanna ask
fair,
me that?
if the vehicle is not currently inspected and tagged, the boat should be currently registered.
Yeah, I agree.
So boats not currently registered? I'm trying to get wording here, can't even tell me.
That's fine.
Well, there's no tags, I mean, you have to have a proper registration number, and you have to have your sticker for that
Right.
year.
Because those stickers are normally good for 2 or 3 years.
3 years.
3. Been a long time since I had a boat.
Is a boat registered? A boat is registered.
Yes.
How would we know that?
You got the sticker
it's
on
got,
the
it
side.
say, you got a thing on the side, it says VA, and then you got a number and
Number,
four
and then
numbers,
sticker.
and then there's another 2 by 2 inch little sticker that tells you when it expires.
Yep.
So boats not currently registered and tagged, does that work?
Well, we don't have to have
It says
tags.
registered.
Registered.
And CBO is gonna be able to tell us?
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Or you have a picture of one and
Unless it's Coast
have it on the
Guard
checklist.
Yeah, this is a